Epictetus, c. 55, c. 135, was a celebrated Greek Stoic philosopher who was originally a slave but rose to an exponent of Stoicism. He was also a teacher flourished in early 2nd century. He lived and taught at Rome, but after the expulsion of the philosophers retired to Nicopolis, in Epirus. He was lame, and lived in poverty. His conversations were collected by Arrian, and his philosophy in a short manual under the Greek name of Enchiridion of Epictetus, written, as is alleged, in utter obliviousness of the fact that the end of man is an action, not a thought. Wisdom and quotes. To the rational being only the irrational is unendurable, but the rational is endurable. Discourses, Book 1. In a word, neither death, nor exile, nor pain, nor anything of this kind is the real cause of our doing or not doing any action, but our inward opinions and principles. Discourses, Book 1. Reason is not measured by size or height, but by principle. Discourses, Book 1. When you close your doors, and make darkness within, remember never to say that you are alone, for you are not alone. Nay, God is within, and your genius is within. And what need have they of light to see what you are doing? Discourses, Book 1. No thing great is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer you that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen. Discourses, Book 1. Were I a nightingale, I would act the part of a nightingale. Were I a swan, the part of a swan. Discourses, Book 1. Since it is reason which shapes and regulates all other things, it ought not itself to be left in disorder. Discourses, Book 1. If what the philosophers say be true, that all men's actions proceed from one source, that as they ascend from a persuasion that a thing is so, and descend from a persuasion that it is not, and suspend their judgment from a persuasion that it is uncertain, so likewise they seek a thing from a persuasion that it is for their advantage. Discourses, Book 1. Practice yourself, for heaven's sake, in little things, and thence proceed to greater. Discourses, Book 1. It is difficulties that show what men are. Discourses, Book 1. In theory, there is nothing to hinder our following what we are taught, but in life there are many things to draw us aside. Discourses, Book 1. Appearances to the mind are of 4 kinds. Things either are what they appear to be, or they neither are, nor appear to be, or they are, and do not appear to be, or they are not, and yet appear to be. Rightly to aim in all these cases is the wise man's task. Discourses, Book 1. For human beings, the measure of every action is the impression of the senses. Discourses, Book 1. For it is not death or pain that is to be feared, but the fear of pain or death. Discourses, Book 2. Only the educated are free. Discourses, Book 2. Materials are indifferent, but the use which we make of them is not a matter of indifference. Discourses, Book 2. Although life is a matter of indifference, the use which you make of it is not a matter of indifference. Discourses, Book 2. When I see someone in anxiety, I say to myself, what can it be that this fellow wants? For if he did not want something that was outside of his control, how could he still remain in anxiety? Discourses, Book 2. What is the first business of one who practices philosophy? To get rid of self-conceit. For it is impossible for anyone to begin to learn that which he thinks he already knows. Discourses, Book 2. Whatever you would make habitual, practice it. And if you would not make a thing habitual, do not practice it, but accustom yourself to something else. Discourses, Book 2. Show me someone who is ill and yet happy, in danger and yet happy, dying and yet happy, exiled and yet happy. Show me such a person. By the gods, how greatly I long to see a Stoic. Discourses, Book 2. What is it to be a philosopher? Is it not to be prepared against events? Discourses. No, first, who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly. Discourses, Book 3. Why? What is weeping and sighing? A judgment. What is misfortune? A judgment. What are strife, disagreement, fault-finding, accusing, impiety, foolishness? They are all judgments. Discourses, Book 3. Two principles we should always have ready, that there is nothing good or evil save in the will, and that we are not to lead events, but to follow them. Discourses, Book 3. For he who is unmusical is a child in music, he who is without letters is a child in learning, he who is untaught is a child in life. Discourses, Book 3. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Discourses, Book 3. For what is it that everyone is seeking? To live securely, to be happy, to do everything as they wish to do, not to be hindered, not to be subject to compulsion. Discourses, Book 4. For freedom is not acquired by satisfying yourself with what you desire, but by destroying your desire. Discourses, Book 4. Little is needed to ruin and upset everything, only a slight aberration from reason. Discourses, Book 4. Everything has two handles, one by which it may be borne, another by which it cannot. Enchiridion. It is difficult for a rich person to be modest, or a modest person rich. Enchiridion. Some things are in our control and others not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, property, reputation, command, and, in one word, whatever are not our own actions. Enchiridion. Men are disturbed, not by things, but by the principles and notions which they form concerning things. Enchiridion. With every accident, ask yourself what abilities you have for making a proper use of it. If you see an attractive person, you will find that self-restraint is the ability you have against your desire. If you are in pain, you will find fortitude. If you hear unpleasant language, you will find patience. And thus habituated, the appearances of things will not hurry you away along with them. Enchiridion. Remember that it is not he who gives abuse or blows who affronts, but the view we take of these things as insulting. When, therefore, anyone provokes you, be assured that it is your own opinion which provokes you. Enchiridion. If a man has reported to you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make any defense, answer to what has been told you, but reply, the man did not know the rest of my faults, for he would not have mentioned these only. Enchiridion. You are a little soul carrying a corpse around. Fragments, quoted by Marcus Aurelius, Meditations.